What's going on, guys? It's Nav Sultan, and this is Sultanic Thoughts. I got another video for you guys today. And the video of today is about capacity. And what I mean by capacity is that a lot of times in life, we think that we need to take more action, we need to network more, we need to consume more knowledge, we got to get more information, we got to push more, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this, we got to do that. And we don't realize that a lot of the reason why we can't keep getting to the next level is because we have a capacity issue. And, you kind of want to look at this like a cup that can only hold, 200 milliliters, right? If you have a cup that can only hold 200 milliliters, you can't fit 500 milliliters of water in it. You need to create a bigger cup to, hold 500 milliliters, even 1 liter, and in life, we kind of have capacity issues because we have, limiting belief issues. So an example of this could be, for example, say you were, a kid, a troubled kid, bad at school, getting in trouble, and you have a father that's kind of always telling you like, oh, you're an idiot, you're a disappointment, and you start to create this belief in your head that, my father is smarter than me. You unconsciously create this belief that, if your father makes $100,000 a year, the max you could make is $80,000, $90,000. Like you never think that you can surpass your father's capabilities, because he's kind of created this dynamic where he knows everything, he's smart, and you're a dummy. And these things happen as children. As children, we kind of create most of our, capacity issues. And, if you become an adult later on in life, and you start to surpass that $100,000 that was basically your father's, limit throughout his adult career, you'll start to see that, you can be subject to a lot of self-sabotage. As soon as you get over 100K, maybe you start getting this urge to drink all the time. As soon as you start to get past the 100K, you want to go on long vacations, you feel lethargic, you feel lazy. You unconsciously start looking at actions to do to maintain that old belief, right? And this is self-sabotage. Women do this a lot. You might see a lot of beautiful women with some real low lives, and you're thinking like, why is this girl so stuck on, these low lives? She can do a lot better. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Casino. Sharon Stone is the main girl in that movie, and she's this super hot girl who basically goes around Las Vegas and hustles dudes, and you know what I mean, and basically is treated like a goddess in that city. And Robert De Niro is, I think, Arnold Rothstein, I guess that's his character in the movie. And he's like the main casino dude of Vegas. He's the guy who basically runs Vegas on the, the legal level. And obviously behind them is the mafia in the movie. And, Arnold Rothstein, Robert De Niro, ends up marrying this girl, Sharon Stone, and gives them everything. Gives her the mansion, gives her the fur coat, gives her the jewelry, the diamonds, everything, but she still goes back to this low life drug dealer dude, who is basically pimping other girls, and she can't get this guy out of his head, and they end up fighting over this guy. It's a long story, but to get back to the point, it's like, these women, their cup of love, of self-love is really, really small. It's really, really small. And, when a guy comes to these women with a lot of love, a lot of respect, a lot of care, the woman is weirded out by this, because she's like, my cup can only hold this much, and this guy's pouring way too much in it. And, she'll push these guys away, sabotage these guys away. And, and instead there'll be a guy who doesn't care about her, treats her like a third option, and she can't get over this guy, and she doesn't understand this dynamic that is going on in her life, and how she's playing into it, your cup has to be increasing all the time. A lot of people, a lot of guys out there, a lot of girls out there that are chasing success, that are trying to chase healthier relationships, they think that the answer is more action. Well, let me meet more people, let me meet more let me take more dates in the area, or let me make more sales calls, let me go do this, let me go do all that. And yeah, it can work, it can get you the results, but ideally, when you're able to lift those beliefs that are kind of creating a ceiling for yourself, you see this flow come into your life. They always say, the first million is the hardest. Why is that? Because the $1 million number is such a ceiling in people's heads. You know what I'm trying to say? It's such a ceiling. And then once they reach that $1 million, it's no longer this big, obstacle in their minds, and you see these people, they hit $1 million. Next thing you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million. They start really, really flowing, getting in that flow of things. And, a lot of, our capacity and our limitations in our cup actually come from just, self-love, what we think we're worthy of, and working on yourself and telling yourself that you're worthy of more, consistently telling yourself, I love myself, looking yourself in the mirror on a daily basis, staring into your eyes, like how you would stare into, one of your ex-girlfriends that you were obsessed with, and really looking yourself in the mirror and telling, yourself, I fucking love you, buddy. I really love you. Like, I love you so much. And really practicing this, because at first it doesn't seem natural. It seems fake almost. You don't believe it, right? But, with time, we're just consistently doing it. Every time you walk by a mirror, every time you look at your rear view mirror, anytime you kind of, look yourself, a photo of yourself, really practice saying this. And, you'd be surprised what starts to happen. It goes from a fake exercise that doesn't really hit, and it doesn't really, feel authentic, to something you start to really feel in your bones, something that really starts to vibrate through your nerves in your fingers, and it becomes like a power, and literally like the look in your eye starts to change. And an interesting thing is that, everybody wants to love themselves more. There's nobody in this world that is like, I want to love myself less, And when you start to, really practice this and cultivate it, and, and believe it and hardwire it into your body, you start to become more attractive to people, because subconsciously other people, they just pick up on something that you have. It becomes like this power, and they kind of become drawn to you. It's a very, very powerful exercise. There's a book, it's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And it's a short book. I got it off Amazon 10 years ago. And I really started to I read it all in like 1 or 2 days. It's a short book. It's very simple. It's not like, it's the basis of it is just to always tell yourself, I love myself, I love myself. Look yourself in the mirror, stare into your eyes and tell yourself, I love you. I really, really love you, And I remember practicing this for like 20, 30 days leading up to, my first trip to go out in Thailand. And honestly, the synchronicities, the coincidences that happen, the money opportunities that started to come, it's like I really, opened my cup and created my cup to be as big as possible. And, the universe just started pouring into it, you know. And a lot of you guys right now, I'm telling you, if you guys are going through some shit and life's just not really giving you nothing but bowls of shit to eat, start doing this and stick with it. You can't do this once or twice, because it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like you're lying to yourself. And the more it feels like you're lying to yourself, the more you have to understand how much you don't love yourself. You don't actually love who you are. You don't love who you see in the mirror. You don't love your body. You know what I mean? You don't love the size of your cock. Like, you don't love your bank account. You don't love the people around you, and that's the more it doesn't feel right, the more you probably need to do it, and I feel like it's the easiest way to increase the capacity of your cup. Yeah, there's other beliefs that you could pick up and other things you can tell yourself to, increase your cup, but the main thing is that, because, the first emotion you feel ever in your life as a baby is love. You're in your mom's wound. And, unless you guys grew up with like a crack fiend mom, your mom would, touch her stomach and soothe you and ease you, and when you came out of your mom's body, you're crying, like how babies cry or whatnot. And your mom holds you and your nervous system recognizes, your mom and the love she gave you. That's why, even now, like when I hug my mom, there's a different kind of warmth I get that I don't get from, any other woman, because my nervous system understands that, this is where you came from, And it's funny too, because you see these modern women out here like, oh, I'm going to get a surrogate mother to carry the baby. And it's like, yeah, until the baby comes out and it starts crying and you're holding it and the baby does not recognize your nervous system, does not recognize your touch. And you're basically raising this kid for the first, 1 or 2 years. And he's just constantly crying. And what he really wants is that poor Filipino lady you gave 10 G's to carry the baby, right? And another point I want to talk on too is that, when you grow up in households and backgrounds and areas, what I mean, where you didn't really see a high ceiling for wealth and money, it gets kind of harder to, believe that you can, have that yourself. Sometimes I see these rich kids that come from $1 million, backgrounds, $1 million fathers. And, there's less resistance for them to, get, hit big numbers in whatever they're trying to do, because, being a millionaire is very, it's not this belief that's way out of their, their reality to say, their uncle might be their uncle's a millionaire, their grandfather was a millionaire, their great grandfather was a millionaire, their father's a millionaire, and they're blessed to have their cup already as bigger than yours, but if you are like me or other people that kind of had to grow up in environments where, there was more scarcity mindsets going on, everything is expensive. Like in my house, everyone's always freaking out about how much things cost and everything was too much. And, you do really have to be conscious of this and really increase your capacity. So guys, that's the video, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. I just wanted to give a little bit of an update too. I had like 2-3 videos that I uploaded during the 30 days and they didn't have the AI voice enhancer set on them. So the audio is not that good on them, but they're really good videos. And, I think I'm going to delete them and re-upload them in the next couple of days, because I want you guys to really watch those. They're really good videos. And I'm going to be making another Thailand video, because that one, you guys really like that one. Some guys said, please, more Thailand content. I have some really cool concepts that I want to kind of put out there. You guys are gonna like them a lot. And I have another video that, you know, I really, really, really can't wait to go into. It's gonna be a passport bro video, because I was a passport bro before that word even existed. And I have so many ways to split that topic up. But that one I kind of want to, you know, I just press play and just start talking. I don't really have a script. I don't have a script at all, you know? But that one is something that I really want to sit down and really cover certain points, because that video might be 30, 40 minutes long, you know? So guys, like, subscribe. Thanks for everybody who's leaving comments, everyone who's watching the videos. I love you guys. Peace. Nav Sultan. This is Sultanic Thoughts.